right, since we are I want to be conscious of your time, we're going to go ahead and get started. As you can see from the screen, I am not Katie Dunn, but she is one of our educational counselors. I am taking her place tonight. My name is Patrice Arrington. I am an educational counselor at Prep Matters, and welcome to our presentation or our town hall on extracurricular activities. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about how important extracurricular activities are, what that looks like in your process, in your college process, how do we choose them? We'll be answering a lot of your questions that you may have about extracurriculars and what it means in the college process. So how important are extracurriculars, especially now? So right now, so every year, an organization called NACAC, which is the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, does this survey, and it probably polls about 250 colleges and asks them what do they put importance on, or what do they feel are important factors in the college process. And out of the 250 colleges that were done in this year, almost half placed considerable to moderate importance on extracurriculars. So as you're looking at the factors on the list, you see where extracurriculars kind of fall in that ranking. They really want to get to know you and who you are. They really do care about the applicant. So that's why they are stressing a little bit more of the extracurriculars. But there's no surprises here that the top three are grades in all courses, grades in college prep courses, and your strength of curriculum. So those three are still going to be your leading factors where colleges are placing the most emphasis on. But you do want to understand that this is a great way to be able to choose those extracurriculars, because you still want to have your time. So time management and being able to maintain that strong GPA are very important when you're choosing what to do outside of that. I definitely want you guys to understand that what you see here is not an end all be all to the college process. They look at so much more than just the data. They are interested, like genuinely interested in the people that they bring to campus. And so they're just using this as a reference in the college process. And this could be also a really great question. So I know those of you that are looking, there's colleges visiting your high schools right now. We're coming up on the very first early action deadline for some schools, but you're still going to have visits at your school. So talking to those missions reps at those particular colleges that you're interested in and asking them where they see extracurriculars or how they view extracurriculars in the college process when they're choosing applicants. So sorry about this slide, but I want to talk about the depth versus breadth, and underneath that breadth is the well-rounded student. So back in the day, you used to always hear like, we want well-rounded students on our campus, but what does that really mean? So a well-rounded student is, and what you guys actually think that means. So a lot of times students are like, well, I got to be well-rounded. So that means I've got to sign up for everything possible. So if a college is looking at me, they're going to see that I encompass so many more things than just my academics. But that's not really so much true these days. They're looking, again, sorry for the slide, they're looking for more of the spiky students versus the well-rounded students, right? So what we mean by spiky is kind of like those students that are free to dabble in like 3 or 4 really great things that they like, that they're extremely passionate about, instead of like 25 things that they're passionate about, right? And like, can you really be passionate about 25 things? Probably the answer is no, if you're thinking about your time, thinking about your other classes, thinking about your basic being a teenager. So we're looking at those spiky students that have those 3 or 4 really great extracurricular activities, and they're able to put their time into those activities and still making sure that they're keeping up with those rigorous classes and still keeping that GPA strong all the way throughout their senior year. Ultimately, though, when you do hear well-rounded, the college themselves are going to choose a well-rounded class to make up that freshman class, but they're looking for those individual spiky kids to make up that well-rounded class, because they definitely want to have, you know, more than just one kind of student on campus. So categories. So on the Common App, which all of you are well too familiar with the Common App, there's over 950 schools that are now on the Common App, which is a great progress from when they first started, which makes the college process a little bit more streamlined and a kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of schools that you may be interested in. When you're going to fill out your activity section on the Common App, there's a drop-down menu that gives you categories. And a lot of times you're kind of thinking like, does my extracurricular or my activity, is it strong? Where does it fit? Does it, our college is going to actually think about it or review it? Is it important? And that's why they give you this whole list of all these different things. And of course, as you guys see at the bottom of this screen, you've got other that may not fit into any of those categories, but you have a choice. Like there's so many different things that you can be interested in that's more than just athletics, you know, debate team, robotics, and which are your typical, you know, activities and things that people might be involved in. As you can see, there's so many more things. So colleges are just trying to remind you that you can excel in things that you are passionate about and not just your basic stuff that everybody's going to be involved in. Ooh, summer programs. So I kind of wanted to touch on this a little bit and where people kind of find summer programs and what they should be doing and how does that fit on their extracurriculars. Actually, I'm actually going to talk about one thing that's not on the slide that I wanted to go over. And it was a slide that was put in a while ago, but it was on the care counts in a crisis. And I feel I have to mention this just because of where we are today with COVID-19. If anybody wants to know, so basically, so disregard the slide and just kind of listen for a second. So basically, the 350 schools got together with their deans and their presidents, and they kind of signed this agreement that they're going to be looking more at, or signed a joint statement that they're going to be looking more at some like 5 factors in this college process, because we are at a time where so much has happened. So basically, if you want to Google this statement, it's called Care Counts in Crisis, and college admissions deans respond to COVID-19. So if you Google that, you can basically see that full statement. And it basically like hits on 5 points, because I think a lot of this goes missing in the college process. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. And the first point that all colleges are well too familiar with is self-care. Self-care and mental health has been a huge factor of these last 2 years actually during COVID, and currently during COVID. So we want to make sure that students are taking care of themselves, family wellness, and everything is important in this college process. And that's why that you guys see on the application that you can write anything about, you know, but there's a COVID essay about anything that you need to, that the admissions counselor needs to know about your state of mind or things that have happened to you or have changed during this pandemic. Another thing is your academic work. I think the things are different now, right? So I think a lot of times students are like, you know, oh my gosh, you know, we're now in a 4x4 block, or I'm taking my AP class in the first semester instead of all year, and now I've got to take an AP exam that's not until May, and I haven't, you know, had any of the subject matter until then, and that's going to affect my scores. So you guys are thinking about the transcript might be different. Maybe they're given a P for pass or an F for fail. Like there might be not any letter grades. And I want you guys to understand something, that you're not alone. Like your school is not the only school that's going through this. Your school's not the only way. Like the transcripts are being viewed in I don't know how many different ways across the country. So you're not alone. So don't feel like you're different, or like, oh my gosh, I have a P in this class, but I have straight A's. And like, definitely know that your counselor, so on the school profile that goes out to every single college when you're applying, there's a little sub kind of statement that explains what the grading policy is, what changes that were made. Your counselor also can make those, talk about those changes in the recommendation. So do know that you're not alone in this, and everybody's going through the same thing when it comes to how your transcripts being viewed, all of those different things. Service and contribution to others. So that's another factor that they kind of agreed on. And everyone's like, well, I didn't have an opportunity to do any service projects or any contributions. And they look at things like, what do you find that's important to you? Like if you were going to a soup kitchen, if you were able, and wear a mask and be able to help the homeless, or service with the Special Olympics, or if you have a local team that has, you know, underprivileged kids and you're working with them and help teach them about basketball or soccer or volleyball, like those things are service and contributions that can be meaningful in this process that you can actually talk about. Or even working to provide tutoring to elementary school students, but is it meaningful to you? And that's where the whole thing, when you're talking about the service and contributions that you guys are doing, where is it meaningful to you? How is it meaningful to you? Also, they were talking about the family contributions. So a lot of times people don't think or pay any attention to, or think that the college admissions are not paying any attention to any family contributions. There's some students that have to go home after school, pick up their little brother or sister, make sure that their dinner is ready, make sure that the brother and sister get their homework done, and then make sure you take care of your homework. That's a job, that's a chore, that's something that is that's time management, that's responsibility. That is something that the college admissions is really looking at for students that have to do those type of things. Maybe you have to care for a sibling, maybe you have to care for a sick relative. There used to have a student that had to go home and take care of her grandmother because the mom worked at night. So being able to balance those contributions and also your schoolwork takes a lot, and is seen as something good. So don't miss or count out any of those things that you guys are doing doesn't happen to be with, a school club. Those things count. Chores around the house. Maybe it is your responsibility to take care of things around the house before you can start your homework. Like, these things matter, and you can list those things. Extra and summer activities, and that's why I wanted to say that before I got into this slide. Extracurriculars and summer activities. No one was able to do them, right? Like, especially in the high point of COVID, there wasn't anything open for you guys to do. So a lot of schools have waived their community services for the year or the year prior. So there's a lot of things that you guys are trying to play catch up on right now that you don't really need to. I mean, it's great to do things now, but like, don't think about, oh my gosh, I don't have enough community service hours, or I'm not going to be seen as well-rounded, or, as a student that does different things because I wasn't able to do this. But again, you're not alone. There's a lot of students that were not able to do things that they wanted to do, or participate in and stuff that they wanted to participate in. So do make sure that you are taking care of yourself and your mental health when you're going through this process, and you're not alone. So going on to our summer programs. So I hear a lot of things from my students about, oh my goodness, I was signed up for a really great summer program and it got canceled, and I don't know what to do because I wanted to put that on my application. And so now it seems like I'm not doing anything with my time. But again, you guys have to understand that it was canceled for everybody. So university, and then some people always ask, like, oh, I was invited, or I got this great brochure in the mail about this cool summer program at, I don't know, Penn State that I really want to go to. And like, should I go? So universities have like so many programs that they can do. A lot of universities are able to provide the dorm space and things like that for the summer. And it's actually really more or less a money-making thing for them over the summer. I know that Wash U and Brown has some really great programs to get involved with, but don't feel like if I go to Brown summer program that I'm going to get into Brown University. That's not what you should take away from a summer program. And that's not what college admissions looks when they're reviewing your application, because not everybody can afford, as the slide says, pay and go versus selective. So anybody can pay and go to any college program over the summer. So why would the colleges put like an extreme emphasis on that if it's not equal and balanced out for everybody? But what you should get out of that is not that I have to go to this college's program because I'm interested in this particular college, but what are you going for? What is the reward in it? What are you learning? Colleges want to definitely see that you're doing something outside of your regular curriculum in high school, but make sure you understand that it's not going to give you a leg up in the admissions process if you go to that particular school summer program, because anybody can go to those summer programs. Well, not everybody can go to those summer programs, right? So think about like whatever summer programs that you're doing your research into those summer programs and finding ones that really are that you think that you're going to be passionate about, that maybe you want to pursue in college or something geared towards a major, but don't just go because you think that you're going to get a leg up on the admissions process. Internships. So there's so many, I live in DC. We are in the heart of so many companies and so many great places where people can do internships like NIH, NASA, National Zoo, but they're hard to find. And a lot of those top programs, like the ones I just mentioned, they really typically want more college students for internships and not high school students. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to find internships to do over the summer. So just really make sure you're doing your research. If you're really interested in doing something in finance or medical, you've got to figure out, how can I get an internship if you want one? Again, this is going to be purely when you're choosing something to do. It's to be done because you're passionate about it and you're authentic about it, not just to put notches on a resume or think that if I'm doing all these things, it's going to help me in the admissions process. Think about how it's like a self-reflection. How would this internship benefit you in terms of your next steps after high school or in college or pursuing of a career? So there's also so many different things, independent projects. So you can do independent projects and they could be anything. You can design your own. Like there was one kid that I knew of that really loved the guitar, and he had never played in school and wasn't a part of a club, but he was self-taught and really loved it. So he decided to do a project of teaching others how to play the guitar, and kind of got like this YouTube thing going on, and they came together as a group. But that was like an independent project because he was passionate about playing the guitar. So thinking about those independent projects that you're doing, I had someone self-start a fashion business, and then also a kid that started a manicure and pedicure business during COVID, because you couldn't go and get those things done. It's like, ladies, we know we like to get our manicures and pedicures. So they started an outdoor kind of business where you can come and get your manicure and pedicure and you wear your mask, but you're outdoors, and they were flourished with it because that's something that they wanted to do. So thinking about things that, make you happy and that you're passionate about, that you can always do. Summer jobs, for so many kids, you guys have summer jobs, and that's a great thing. You've got waiters and waitresses and hostesses. So making sure you're working places that you like, that you find fun and amusing, and make a little money at the same time. There's also, you have to do some research on your service opportunities that you want to do service. Again, feeding the homeless. I had one student actually go to Kentucky and build coffins for people that were about to pass. And she thought it was awesome to be able to, build something for someone that knew they were going to leave this earth, but to feel good that they have something to be buried in. It was for underprivileged people who weren't able to afford coffins. So she went and did a service project with that to help them have a place to rest. And she found that to be heartfelt. So there's so many different things that you guys can do with that. All right, potential spikes. And kind of what we mean by potential spikes is we're not talking about spikes that are identified with a particular activity, going back to our activities, even though it could be a way that you identify. For example, volleyball can be a spike, but maybe you're not looking to be recruited by the NCAA or play in college or anything like that, but part of your experience that you're involved with volleyball could be that spike. So take, for example, leadership. Maybe you're a leader in your community. And again, leadership doesn't necessarily mean president or spearheaded a club, but it's not the name of the activity that spikes. It can be the concept and different activities and experiences that contribute to that spike. So you got relationships and values, service and culture and background, leadership and unique interests and passions, and then kind of that tinkering where I'm kind of thinking about different things that I can dibble dabble in. So much of the college process, you guys, is self-reflection. So making sure that when you're choosing activities or putting those activities down, that you're involved with, that you're self-reflecting and figuring out, why are you actually in this club? Why did I join robotics? Why did I join, the debate club? Why did I join the leadership committee or something, whatever it is? And you should be able to come out with a moral behind why, a moral compass behind why you did something. Do I need a resume? The answer is yes. It basically provides an immediate snapshot of your experience throughout high school. So what would you use it for? So first of all, if you have a resume and you've been building a resume for your entire years of high school, it really helps with that activity section as you go down and figure out, where can I put what activity and where do I rank those activities? Because you have it all written down. My biggest advice for you guys, moving forward, if we've got some younger classes on the call, is start writing down stuff as soon as you enter high school. And then as you're going through high school, because you'll forget what you do. If you won that particular award for community service or a writing supplement that you did, all of these things can build out your resume. So resumes for a high school student going into college usually have some kind of opening statement at the beginning. It gives you your high school, which might have, your National Honor Society stuff, your GPA, maybe your SAT or ACT score. Then you're going into your activities, maybe your work experience, and then your interests. So it's a very cut and dry kind of snapshot of you and kind of what you're doing. And you're probably saying, we have so much stuff to fill out. Why do we then have to repeat it in a resume? Because it's kind of that one-stop shop. So like you have all that stuff in the application, but when they have that resume sitting in front of you, it's a good way to kind of just sum everything up for you. So that's how you would use it for your college applications. For interviews, some of you may be going to schools that require an interview. The good thing is like you will reach out to that interview person and get an email back and forth to set up a time. The great thing that you can do with that resume is send them a resume before you actually meet with them, so they can get a little snapshot of you before they meet you for the first time. It's also great for summer programs. So those of you who are applying for summer programs, you send the resume along and it goes quite nicely with your application, so they can see, who is this person that I'm hiring for the summer? Like, what can this person bring? What experience do they have? Why should I hire them? That's what that resume does. And then also for life. Everything that you do, you're going to have to have a resume, and it's really hard to keep track of stuff. So if you start building that out in high school, it's kind of there for you, and you don't have to worry about remembering every little detail of what you've been doing throughout your years. So what's the big secret about extracurricular activities? Authenticity. The daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we actually are meant to be. A lot of times when you guys are going through this process, the admissions want to know you. If you're not at a college that requires interviews or doesn't do interviews, or you're not, the particular school's not coming to your high school so you can meet with the admissions counselor face to face, how can they get you out of an application? And it's about being authentic. You have to be authentic in your writing. A lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to sound like write the same story or write the same essay. It's like, you're not really writing the same essay. Like, your story is going to be different from someone else's story. So just be true to you. If it's about, you can really write about anything, but if I was an admissions representative, and I talk to admissions reps all the time, I've been doing this a very long time, it's like they want to get to know who they're bringing to campus. Who are you behind this application, these numbers, this data, like everybody that, like, they want to bring unique people to campus in order to have a diverse class. They want different kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds because we learn from each other. So making sure the more authentic you are, the better chances you have. And know the meaning behind your activities and be ready to articulate that. Again, you just can't have 20 things that you do. We really want to be that spiky student so that they're getting to find, like, those 3 things. Like, I played volleyball in college and on the national team and pro for 12 years. So I love volleyball. If you knew that about me and that wasn't somewhere in my application, they would think I'm not being true to myself. I'm just trying to give them something that they want to hear. So let's say you're on Instagram and you like to cook, and all of your Instagram has all of the beautiful food that you've made, the different dishes that you've tried, different places that you travel to eat the different foods, and nothing about you in any part of your application said that you love to travel, you love different foods and diverse cultures. Then you're not being true to yourself. Or like art. A lot of times, if you're a true artist or a designer, your social media, because I know all of my wonderful students out there are on social media, your social media is going to tell your story. So make sure that you know what that is and you stay true to that. The big idea behind planning your extracurriculars. So roll with the punches. Don't dismiss new ideas for yourself. And that's where, like, coming into that authenticity comes in. Like, every opportunity you have to show you is what you should do. I know the hardest thing for students is to talk about themselves. And you think it's like, I can't really say that. I don't really want to say that. But that's the only way the person who's reading your application gets you, right? So if you don't tell them everything about you, they don't know if you're going to be a good fit on your campus, no matter what your numbers look like. If they don't feel that you're going to fit with their student, their mission, you're not going to fit with their community. No matter if you're a 4.8 student and have a 1600 SAT, you may get denied because they can't see you. So making sure you guys are not dismissing any new ideas or anything about you. Be proactive. Be on the lookout for opportunities. There's always something for you to do. I had one student that had one activity, and she told me, she said, I couldn't find anything to do. There's always something to do. You can make your own. It's like I told you, independent projects. Find out what you're passionate about and stick to your passions and your desires. It might be, I want to learn guitar. I want to take up drawing. I want to do sculpting. There's always something that you can do, and just do some research on it. You guys are always on social media, so there's ways of figuring out things in your area that you can get involved in. Reflect. Identify your role, your purpose, and your mission. And I talked a little bit about this earlier, is like when you're joining or choosing an extracurricular activity, figure out what your role would be. So I love to talk. That is my one big thing. I can talk until the cows come home. Sometimes I don't always have any meaning behind what I say, but sometimes I do. But I feel like if I was your age, I would want to be, if I wasn't the leader or the president, I would always be the group leader, because I would want to discuss.
what we just worked on. I was always chosen in class and even in my master's program at Georgetown as the group leader because they knew I could talk and I articulate well. So making sure you know what your role is and then have a purpose. If you're joining activities just because you're trying to stack your resume or stack your activity section or look good to an admissions officer and you have no purpose, that is the wrong reason to be a part of a club. You're not doing a service to yourself at all. You're actually doing a disservice to yourself and those around you who are actually there because they want to be. So find out what your purpose is and then what your mission is. Like, what do you want to get out of that activity or that event or whatever it is that you're doing? Have a reason behind what you're doing and a mission of accomplishing something. Like, let's say you're a tutor, just using it as an example. Like, and the group is called Tutoring Expedition or Tutoring Explorers, and you're the president of the Tutoring Explorers. Your purpose is to help students achieve better grades in math. And then your mission, my mission is to make sure when they take the math SAT section that they have increased their SAT math score by 5 points. So that is a what to put down. If you've done that, that'd be a great activity to put down, saying that that's the purpose and the result of what you were passionate about, and you found your purpose, and your mission was to accomplish helping these students get points higher on that math SAT, and you accomplished that. So feel every time you're a part of something, make sure you guys are doing that self-reflection and figuring out, why am I here? If you don't know why you are there, do not join that particular club. Be selective. Don't overextend yourself. Again, as you saw on that chart, colleges are still putting a strong emphasis on those top 3 factors, which are, your courses, your rigor, college prep. These are hard, right? So you still got to be able to maintain a strong GPA throughout your high school years. If you overextend yourself, it's kind of hard to do everything. We are not Superman or Superwoman where we can be in 2 and 3 different places at one time, or we can go and do this and then come down here and then do homework and then do this and then go to work and then join this committee and then wash dishes. We can't do all of that, right? We have to have that thing that we were talking about, that self-care and that mental aspect and peace. So making sure that you guys are picking and choosing extracurricular activities that you're genuinely interested in, that you care about, but not 15 of them. Literally 3 to 4 things that you can give and donate your time to and accomplish something at the same time. Keep it real. It's not an audition for a show. College admissions officers are not looking at who's going to be the best in show. How many, oh my gosh, they have 15 of these wonderful activities and this person only has 2. I'm going to go with this person that has 15. But that person that has 2 are passionate about it. They've been doing it since 9th grade. They've had a purpose in it and they had a mission in it, and they dedicate their time to those 2 activities, as well as maintaining their GPA, essay, and their courses and rigor in their courses throughout their years, and are able to have mental health and a peace of mind. So when they're graduating high school, moving on to the next level of college, they're not going crazy trying to figure out, what am I doing? They already know because they've had this well-balanced life in high school where they can just move on and continue that balance in college. So making sure, again, authenticity. Be true in your extracurricular activities when you're choosing them. If you don't want to do it, don't do it because mom and dad said do it or because my friends are doing it. You have to do things because you want to do them and not because somebody else says, oh, that you should join this, it's cool. Or you only have 4 activities on your list, you should get 1 more, join this club with me. It is up to you to make your choices on what you choose to do with your time. All right, are there any questions? I guess that we do have 2 questions. Yes, this recording will be provided. How important is having activities that span 4 years of high school to show commitment? Trying new activities each year, ? So that's a really good question. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick. I'm doing this, there we go, hold on. That's a really great question because a lot of people
have been doing things over the course of the 4 years. And that means that it's authentic and they're staying true to what they enjoy and what they're passionate about. So there's nothing wrong with being able to continue to do things over your 4 years. I played volleyball for 4 years. I was the captain for 4 years. And then if you choose a new activity, try not to do it in your senior year, because it kind of looks like I just joined this because it's my senior year kind of thing. But definitely if there's something that popped up, maybe there's a new club that you started or just came into your school for the first time and you really wanted to, join, you can do that because you're passionate about it, but explain that in your application process. Are there any other questions? We stopped early today. Maybe I didn't talk enough. We still have so much time. Are there any other questions that you guys want answered? Talking about extracurriculars, talking about your resume, anything like that? Really stopped this early. Well, if there's no more questions, because I've gone in the question queue and saw that there was only 2, that means either A, I did an awesome job of explaining everything, or B, you guys just don't have any questions. But again, prep matters. I'm Patrice Arrington, educational counselor. If you need, I think I'm gonna go back to the screen where you can see, where is it? I was gonna go back to the screen where you can, oh, that's okay. Where you can get the information for prep matters. Oh, we have another question. Hold on. I'm trying to decide if I want to stop doing a sport that I've done since freshman year, but I don't know what else to do. I guess your question is, should you stick with it? You're a junior. For me, because I'm a sports person, if I love volleyball, so if it's a sport that you absolutely love, or if you're trying to play in college, I would stick with it. But if you're not passionate about it anymore, you're not trying to play in college, it was just something more of a hobby, you can choose something else. But I personally would stick with it. So it'd be 4 years, because it's 1 more year after that. But again, it would have to be a judgment call on you. Like, if you're not passionate about the sport that you're playing, then you shouldn't be playing it. And then you can find something, I'll do some research and find something else that maybe your school has, maybe join another sport, maybe be a manager, have those leadership skills come out. So you can do something like that. Any other questions? All right, well, oh, wait a minute, do we have one more? No, oh, okay. Well, wait a minute, we have, I'm not sure, activities and STEM, they are not so competitive. Oh, thank you, you're very welcome. This was informative, thank you. So like your activities in STEM, like your robotics team, your science bowl, things like that, they're competitive within the STEM, like within the STEM family. So they're still seen as great opportunities to show leadership. You're building things if you're going into engineering or computer science. So it doesn't have to be like something where it's like, I don't know, like athletics or whatever, but like whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, if that's your activity. I used to work at Wilson High School, and their robotics team is phenomenal. So those students who were going into engineering, they would put like their captain of the robotics team, and they won the was that first robotics competition. And that's seen as wonderful things to put down for what you're doing. And those things are hard, and they work hours and hours and hours and hours preparing for a competition. So they have equal importance, no matter if it's STEM, if it's theater, if it's athletics, if it's environmental. That's why they have those wonderful drop-down categories, so you can figure out where your activity lies and are able to categorize it accordingly. Well, I'll stick around if there's no more questions. Thank you guys so much for joining this evening, but I'll keep the chat open. So if you wanted to ask me anything else, I'll be more than happy to sit for a few more minutes and answer your questions. Good luck to you all. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining, and good luck with your college process. And remember, guys, don't stress out. Be you. Make sure you have time management, take self-care, get your work done, and enjoy being a teenager and enjoy the things that you love. And that's all seen as great in the college admissions process. You are very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining, guys. All the questions here. Oh, okay. I'm a sophomore and I've been playing tennis since 6th grade. I've gotten good enough to enter the top of varsity and I can stay around the top of varsity for the rest of high school. However, I've begun to lose passion for it. Should I pursue something totally new that I'm actually interested in, but probably won't be able to excel in it? That is a good question. You're a sophomore now and you've been playing for a long time. And you're very good. Is there a reason? So my first question as an athlete and as a coach, I coach volleyball. Is there a reason why you've lost the passion for it? Is there any way to get that passion back? Because you are so good and can do well in it. If it's a bad coaching, or I would never put it on a coach, but like it could be like maybe it's not as fun as it used to be. Maybe it could be a range of different things. But if you can't find that passion for it again, and there's something else that you're good at, that you love and that you're interested in, then I would pursue the other interests. Or there's a way to balance the two. You can also do that. But figure out why you lost the passion, and maybe you can get the passion back, because when you're that competitive, it could be overwork. Maybe you've been doing it for a long time and you just need a break. A lot of kids get burned out when they're doing it. So you're probably playing all year long. So you're probably just like, you know what, I just want to do something else. And that's fine if that's your final decision. Because again, you don't ever want to do anything that you don't love, but you also don't really want to, stop something that you started. So there's a lesson in both. So that would have to be a conversation with, is there a way to get that passion back? Because you found a passion for it at a young age. Figuring out where that passion is and how to get that back, because it's clear that you like it, but there might be something happening where you're just not passionate about it anymore. But maybe you can pursue both. So think about that a little bit before you kind of make a decision of not doing it anymore. Is it better to have a summer job or go on a program? Both look good to me. I can't do both during the same summer. I don't know what I want to study in college. Maybe going to a summer program might help you find your interest for, oh, you're welcome. Might help you find your interest to what you want to study in college, because there's so many different programs. It could be something overseas. It could be something at a particular college. If there's a particular subject in high school that you like very much, that they're doing a program in college, maybe you can do that. Either of them are fine. A lot of people want to work over the summer because they want to make some money for college. So just depending, the summer programs for summer are usually can be 1 week or 2 weeks. So maybe you do a shorter summer program and you might be able to figure out what you want to study. Maybe just take a limb or a risk and be like, you know what? I want to go to the computer science one, or the English literature program, or the environmental science program, because I like environmental science, but I'm not sure I want to study it in college. And maybe this program is like, oh my gosh, I really want to study environmental science now because of my 2-week experience. And it's more than just the experience of the actual like subject matter, but the students that are with you, you can meet lifetime friends. You get to be around people that you've never met before. It kind of makes you branch out and kind of be more social and just learn different things about different people in a different environment. So that could be a good lesson as well. Summer jobs are always there. You can always get a summer job anywhere, but if it's something that you kind of want to, you know, figure out for college, maybe you pick something that you like, and then you might end up loving it. If you're super spiky in something like theater and spend a ton of time there, how important is it to show leadership service as well? It's important. If you're that spiky theater person, which I know I do a lot of students that are at Duke Ellington, where like you guys are really, and then also the theater department at Wilson High School was ridiculously great. Like, so many talented students there, but they spend a lot of time rehearsing for a show. So it's a little bit hard to show leadership or service in other places. So maybe on the weekends, maybe you're volunteering at your church, or on Sunday, maybe you're running Bible study or something like that, which would give you a little bit of your service as well. But we do know that if you're that spiky theater kid, there's a lot of time being put into theater. But maybe if you're not at theater, maybe doing something a couple hours a week in service would be good, like, you know, the homeless shelter or whatever else is out there. I always think about the homeless shelter because I think that's the awesome place to do service. But yeah, so maybe you can do a little bit of both, but it doesn't have to be an equal balance if you're wondering about the balance of the two. Any other questions? I think I answered them all. Yes. So with that, I guess I will let my last little participants go. So if I answered your question, I think I have a chat. Hold on. Let's see. If you have a student with a great GPA and SAT, but is not competitive, therefore not attracted to STEM activities that are very competitive, do you recommend any kind of activities that are less conventional and perhaps less competitive and stressful for students who don't enjoy this kind of environment? Okay. So if I have a student that has a great GPA and SAT, okay, but is not competitive. So if you have a great GPA and an SAT score, how are you not competitive? Like if it's great, it's still competitive. It may not be the top, but it's still going to be a good competitive score. And therefore, you're not attracted to STEM activities that are okay. You don't have to be. Do you recommend any kind of activities that are less conventional and perhaps less competitive and stressful for students who don't enjoy this kind of environment? Absolutely. There's so many things. So there's poetry club. There are, I have someone who writes for the school newspaper. There's, do you know there's a lot of clubs that are geared around mental health too, like mental health tutoring. There's so many things. There's literary magazines. Someone started a chess club. Someone started a club. What's the name of that club? It was something like, I think it was a gaming club that was started because the kids like to play video games. You can do anything that you enjoy. Like it doesn't necessarily, like I know a lot of times the first thing people always talk about is like robotics, science. And that's the first things I mention because I know students that are in those types of clubs, but there's choir, there's religious clubs, there's LGBTQ. I think, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. There's so many things that you guys can do out there that's not necessarily a STEM subject. So keep that in mind when you're looking for clubs and activities. You can be a manager of a sports team. So let's say you don't necessarily like to participate in sports, but you like sports. You can be a manager. That's leadership, that's, time management, that's responsibility, because a lot of stuff goes into being a manager, because I know my managers do a lot of stuff, so they have to be responsible because they're a reflection of the coach. So you can always find stuff. There's a little bit of everything. If you look back at that slide where you got the categories, you can fit any kind of activity into those categories. categories, sorry. You are very welcome. Yes, definitely don't think you have to be in the most competitive clubs and activities at your school. You can do the guitar club, you can do the book review. There's so many things, long as you have a passion about it, and that's you. Remember, when you are doing your college applications, they want to know you and what you like to do, not I just want to join this particular club because it looks good or it's more competitive. No, whatever you do, it's your character, your authenticity. They're seeing if you're going to be a good fit on their campus, not just, okay, this kid likes STEM, but you really don't like STEM. So it's not going to come out in your application, but maybe you love to draw. Maybe you like to sketch, maybe you like to, whatever it is, and that's what's going to be in the forefront of your activities. Like, I sketch blah 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 on the weekends, or I go to the park. Photography, I take photos of birds or trees or people that I feel like are together with love, or whatever the case is that you're photographing. Maybe you do portraits for people. That can be a club, and you can join that, and that's what you like to do on the weekends. Again, I love to cook. So if there was a cooking club, I would be joining the cooking club for sure. And it would be in the forefront of my application because I'm good at it. That's what I like to do. So thinking about those things, those activities, and finding what your niche is and staying true to yourself. All right, guys. It is 7:51. I don't see any more questions, so I am going to let you go for the evening. Thank you for sticking around and listening to me babble. Hopefully I've answered your questions correctly. Have a good evening. Again, Patrice Arrington, educational counselor at Prep Matters. We were talking about those wonderful extracurricular activities, and I hope happy choosing, and make sure you guys are choosing those extracurriculars that you're passionate about, staying authentic and enjoying your junior, your senior years of high school, and preparing yourself mentally for college and your next steps. I wish you the best in your futures, and have a good night.